I've been thinking a lot this week, and actually, you'll get to hear Lena's story here in a little bit about the risk that she is right about to take. Is she's been doing ministry around this city for about 5 years, and she's just on the cusp of launching her own ministry, stepping away from her full-time job to go out and to really begin just taking everything she does to connect with a lot of the urban poor here and make great long-lasting connections with these families. And she's going to dedicate her life to this and really risk her stability to do so. And it got me thinking about faith and about risk. And I was reading today in the book of James, and you may have not read the Bible for a while, but it's a really great book. And it says this here real quick, which I thought was great today. And let me find it here real quick. Sorry, bad transition. It says this. It says, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food, and if one of you says to them, 'Go in peace and keep warm and well fed,' but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it's not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, 'You have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds.' You believe there's one God. Good, even the demons believe that and shudder. You foolish person, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is useless? Was not our father Abraham considered righteous for what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see, it was his faith and actions were working together, and his faith was made complete by what he did." And it goes through and tells some other stories. And what it made me think about this idea is if maybe we could replace the word deeds there with the word risk. That faith without risk is dead. And a lot of times I think in our life, whether you're here tonight, you just came to Pub Theology on accident, maybe you're not a follower of Jesus, you're not sure about the whole God deal, or maybe you're here and you've been a Christian your whole life. What I've found in my own life, and most of us as human beings, is that we do our best to avoid risk at all costs. We do everything I can to live an amazingly safe life. I mean, you think about the risks that we used to take. I remember this week I saw a kid in our neighborhood sitting in the back of a pickup truck just like riding down to the pool in our neighborhood. So they're going like 2 miles an hour in my neighborhood, and as they drove past, I was thinking to myself, that's unsafe. Like, this kid's in the back of a pickup truck. But I remember when I was a kid, if your buddy's dad let you ride in the back of his pickup truck like 55 miles down the drive, like the freeway, you're like, he's the cool dad, right? Now, if he was doing that, you'd be like, let's get this guy arrested. You know, he's endangering children. And it made me think about this idea of risk, and that we get into a routine of trying to keep our life as safe as possible. And I talked about this on Sunday, actually. And I used this illustration of a balance beam, right? And I don't know if you guys have watched the Olympics lately, but the balance beam, it really blows my mind, this whole balance beam deal. The pink is really good. You can tell I have 3 boys, and I called a friend and said, "You guys have a balance beam?" And they have girls, and then they said, "You can come borrow it." And I got to their house, and it was hot pink. So you can't miss it. What I love about the balance beam, right, is that you get these people that go out, these amazingly trained, athletes and gymnasts, and that they have to perform these crazy risk maneuvers, right, on this 4-inch little beam, and they do flips and twists and do all this, and if they do it right, they could break their neck, they could break a leg, they could probably die even. If they do it right, they get a great reward called the gold medal, and it's pretty awesome. But the deal with the balance beam, as the deal is with life, right, is that faith without deeds is dead, but faith without risk is dead, and life without risk is boring and really deserves no reward. And so the thought I had is, like, a lot of times I think the illustration would be for us is, in life, we don't even really attempt sometimes great riskful things on the balance beam. Is most of the times I think are super safe, keep everything in control, and I think our preoccupation with safety is actually our desire that if we can keep our life as controlled and as unrisky as possible, we feel like we're actually in control of our life. But that's actually not true. Is the image I get for most of us is, instead of like doing like the whole thing and doing a flip, is daily we just kind of lay down on the beam, right, and we just kind of hug it. Like, this is us right here. All of our life, we kind of hug the beam, and it's kind of like, God, if I could just get through this day without anything bad happening at all, and if I could never have problems, and I want to if I could live in a gated community, and if I could have 2,800 airbags in my car, and if everything would just go good, with my whole life, and I'll never do anything bad or try to mess anything up and be a really good person. And then when I die, God, if I could just be dreaming about going to heaven as I'm going to heaven, God, and I would die in my sleep with no pain or problems at all, and then I would just get done and I would take this death grip I have on this balance beam and just kind of roll off and roll into heaven, and I would be like, ta-da, right? And the image I get is like, can you imagine if you ever watched the Olympics and somebody actually did that, right? Like if I was in the Olympics and they're like, Daron Earlewine from the United States coming out here, right? And he was like, Bill, I've got a breakdown of Daron's routine here, and it's just a list of stuff he's not going to do. It just says Daron's going to lay down and roll off the beam, right? Like if you watched the Olympics and someone literally got onto a balance beam, rolled off and landed, and then tried to give the like ta-da, you know, like what's the judge going to do? Like I can't even give you a score because that was so pathetic. But sometimes I think in our lives as we get so into the routine of that we do, right, day in and day out. And maybe for you it's going to church all the time, or maybe for you it's never going to church, it's just coming to Wolfies, or just going to play cards, or just going to play golf, or you have a routine in your life. And the thing I want to invite you to do tonight is to consider taking some bigger risks in your life. Because life lived without risk is really not worth living. So tonight for you, the biggest risk might be to start serving the community. It might be to go talk to a neighbor. It might be to forgive somebody. It might be to choose to love. It might be to actually ask her to marry you. I don't know what it might be for your risk. Or for you, if you're maybe here and you have no connection to God at all, the connection for you, the great risk might be to take the risk that you might actually be wrong about God. That he might actually love you just as you are. And that, my friends, is an amazing risk that has an eternal, life-changing reward. That, my friends, is your Pub Theology thought for the night. If you have any questions, you can text them in to 317-550-5070. Aaron's going to play you a really, really pretty song and sing it for you. And then we're going to get a chance to hear from Lena Morris because she's in the house. So we'll get to hear from Lena in just a few minutes. But right now, the one, the only, Mr. Aaron Hubbard. right, now we're back rolling on a schedule that's going to work just fine for this evening tonight. Thank you guys for being here at Pub Theology. If you just walked in, you don't know what you're at Pub Theology. It's Indy's best party with a purpose. We bring together faith, hope, love. You might drink some beer, have some great food, and we just try to bring the hope and the faith and the love of God into a place of everyday life, and a great place like Wolfies right here. A lot of great live music, some non-live music, and then each month we introduce you to people who are doing great things in our city. And probably one of the people that I know the best, that I think is making one of the most sizable impacts in our city, is the woman you're about to meet right now. So let's welcome Lena Morris to the stage tonight. Lena, come on up. Levon, join us. Make your way through this obstacle course, Lena. You too, Levon. Don't twist an ankle. You can step on the music.
I'm there.
This is Levon Rube. She's a part of GTM and a part of Pub Theology, our team, and she's done ministry work all over the world and been to 43 some countries and been all over the place. She's an amazing woman as well, and she's been working with Lena. You're getting ready to launch right now. Momentum Kingdom Ministries.
MKM.
Yes, that's good. And you've been working towards this for quite some time, and I want to just. I've been able to work with you for the past 5 years. We worked together at East 91st Street Christian Church. Now we're both not employed there, and
Wow, common.
and doing.
It's an introduction.
It is an introduction.
Amazing things in common.
Exactly. Right? And we're doing ministry out in the community. But you're responsible for amazing things like you were the vision and heart behind Gifts of Grace that has happened for the past 8 years. Served really at this point thousands of families around the city. The We Are Family event, we did a huge event downtown called Worship in the City, where we had over 2,500 people. You were really the heart and soul behind that as well. You've done so much stuff, and now you're really taking this on your own. And so tell us a little bit about Momentum Kingdom Ministries and what you're doing right now, and then I want Levon to just talk to you about it a little deeper on this one.
Well, basically, Momentum Kingdom Ministries, really what we do is we reclaim families and we transform communities through the love of Christ. What we find is a lot of resources are out here and people know about them. People give people resources. They'll rattle out a list of resources, but people really don't walk alongside families to help them reach that end goal. So Momentum Kingdom Ministries is just that. We want to help families become self-sufficient through the love of Christ, but we partner our relationships with our resources. Because sometimes you'll get a list of resources and families are just overwhelmed and they become paralyzed. They need somebody that will be a relational advocate, walk that out with them. Sometimes families are broken, single-parent homes, families, just grandparents raising grandchildren. We've had some great aunts and uncles raising kids. And they need somebody to come along with them to celebrations. If the children make it through school and they're celebrating going to the next grade, we are doing that on the relational level. We are not into processing people. We are into promoting relationships and relational advocacy. So that's what we do.
Absolutely. Levon?
Well, I appreciate your diversity concepts too, because we are a multi-diverse city. Indianapolis, here in the middle of America, is a multi-diverse city. But I've just met Lena about 6 or 7 months ago, and we've been working together, and I'm very impressed with the ideas that she has about making this all work. You know, if you have great ideas but you don't do the work, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that Lena and her team, and she's got a bunch of team that have been drawn up around her, because this is a vision, people believe it.
Yeah.
But what I would like you to do is take a little bit more time and explain this 2-year process that you do when you relationally come alongside. It's one thing to give people resources, and you talk about how long you come alongside a family to take them from a dysfunctional place to a spiritually and emotionally successful place. So let's hear a little more about that.
So yes, that is it. And in order to do that, sometimes under-resourced, underserved families only have the environment that they see every day. That is their only hope. And sometimes that can be a very kind of dim situation. I am a person that grew up in the inner city of Indianapolis, Indiana. Inner city. But one day, a 5th grade teacher decided to take me to Washington, D.C., and I went. And from that point on, I began to embrace opportunities outside of my culture that allowed me to get a college education, and it allowed me to connect with other people to help me build a more well-rounded life. And I say that is very important because I know I look awfully different than Daron and LaVon.
No, what? What? I've been
We
tanning
live
all
in the
summer.
same
Lena.
city. That's funny. But what we look at in Momentum Kingdom Ministry is how we take those diverse differences and we bridge the gap. People with resources and people that are under-resourced, everybody, it's a get and give in all situations. Because for you, at the end of the day, to know you've invested and impacted someone's life through the resources, and I'm not just talking about finances, I'm talking about knowledge, I'm talking about education, I'm talking about experiences, and I'm a living witness to that. That if you begin to allow someone to see outside of their bubble, just how successful they can become. And not only that, you help them understand and re-engage with their children. You take that pressure off. They're really able to build a wholesome family, no matter what that family looks like. If it's a single parent, if it's grandparents raising grandkids. But if we want healthy, whole individuals, families, communities, it's really going to take bridging the gap between diverse backgrounds,
Absolutely.
culture, and economic situations.
Yeah, absolutely, Lena.